Hello, hello, hello to our viewers out in they say TV land, radio land, across the internet, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn. Want to say welcome to the Melting Pot. This is a thought-provoking program that we focus on issues trending in Liberia, and we try to get Liberians across the globe involved in developing situations in our country. Let us talk and make our democracy better. I am your host, your regular host, Clarence R. Pearson, and I have with me, Reverend. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Well, I'm Thomas Johnson. I'm delighted to add my voice to the many voices nowadays that are discussing trending issues in Liberia and other places in the world. Our century, the 21st century, we're grateful that it is a century of information. We are at a place where information is no longer controlled by narrow government sources, but is available to all of us, and we as citizenry can contribute to the body politics and to the dissemination and discussion of trending issues. So it's a delight to be here to add my voice.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. And like you said, look, listen, there is no longer the dark ages where information is controlled and people's voices are controlled, that you can hear what people want you to hear, or want you to hear rather, and then you get stifled, or you get cut off from saying from hearing information that's relevant to you. So this is the melting pot, and we are here to discuss trending issues that are unfolding in Liberia. If you're joining us, we want you to please share this show. You can comment, and if your comment is require us to put it on the screen, we will do so just to hear your voice. All right. So we will be looking at President Boyka's DA make the news. Mother accuses LDA officers of killing her son. We want to look at that information very clearly. What is going on at the LDA? We understand President Boyka just appointed a new LDA officer in charge pending the appointment of a staff there, of a director general proper. And then, but now issues, things are going out of hand at the LDA. So we'll be having a conversation, and we'll bring you the voice of that lady who was crying on social media today and asking us around the world to add our voice to her voice so that she can get justice. And we'll be doing that tonight. We want to be talking about corruption at the Ministry of Gender, Women, and Children. I mean, something going on there. There's a resignation from there, and then the resignation. Mr. K is saying that there's corruption going on there. He doesn't want to be a part of that corruption of the Ministry of Gender, and so he's calling on President Boyka to take action. In the meantime, he's resigning to protect his own integrity. So the Ministry of Gender is under the spotlight tonight. So now I also want to throw light on and bring you information that is developing from the Smart News report that says Liberians in Lebanon are opposing some form of appointment in that area, and setting Liberians up between the scissors, between Hezbollah and Israel. We know that conflict is a deadly conflict. A lot of people are dying. The United Nations don't even seem to have control over that conflict, and not even the U.S. has enough power or has enough influence to control that conflict. And we are concerned that Liberians should not be placed in between the scissors. Their lives may be at stake. And then we will look at the international businessman that was robbed by members of our Liberian National Police. They went to this guy's hotel, and they and they hijacked this guy, took $24,000 from him. All right, and then took him to the Liberia Central Police Station, where this guy finally broke silence, and he's asking that he get his money back because they wrongfully tried to rob him. And last but not the least, President Boyka's hands is full with candidates for Commerce Ministry. People putting themselves forward. And other people are saying, listen, I can do that job that you just, that just resigned from. I think I can do that job. These are the talking points we have from you, for you tonight on the melting pot. And Reverend Thomas and myself will do the best we can to do justice to these talking points. And without further delay, Reverend Thomas, we want to go over quickly to the LDA and this woman's issue. President Boyka's LDA makes the news mother cries for her son. I'm going to play a video. Reverend Thomas, I'm going to play a video. And while I find that video, you can keep the ball rolling. Maybe you have an opening thought on that situation.
Yes. Let me clearly state here that human life is very important, and regardless of the intensity of the war on drugs, the first order of business is the preservation of human life, and there's a need to have specific rules of engagement that preserve life of people. I do not know the full story. Is an alleged statement made, but the LDEA should have a rule of engagement whereby lives will be preserved. But thinking back over their activities, we've seen how it appears that there are folks within that organization that are trigger happy, and that should be discouraged. All right. The past incidents have not been resolved with the LDEA, and yet we have another incident involving the taking of life. I think they should revisit the rules of engagement. There should be a zero tolerance in taking of human lives. But reflecting on the Liberian society, we recognize the fact that it has been a violent society where the trauma that have been created upon the Liberian people as a result of the violence that have been perpetrated during the war, those traumatic situations have not even been resolved. So we appear to be a society that just, we are careless about human life. And folks that take human lives have not been held accountable. And some of those folks are even serving in high positions of government. So then how could we say that we are working in the interest of the people when we are careless and we are ever ready to take the lives of people regardless of the impact it has on the parent, the impact it has on the family? This kind of situation has to be reversed. It should not be tolerated. And so those that are held guilty or accountable for this must really face a disciplinary action to the level of dismissal and prosecution. Human lives are sacred, and as a people, as a nation, that should be first and foremost in our mind across all agencies of government, across the spectrum of law enforcement.
Okay, Reverend Thomas, let's hear this woman out. Let's hear her out.
Her boss lady gave her order to release order no trust until they will go free. Hey, my people, so y'all can go care our children to get money. The people that get the drugs, y'all go after them. That what children y'all go after. I went to her yesterday. She called me. She expected to come. She called me. She said I'm gonna go there to her. I go there. She said that her commander gave order. Say she gonna go raise. That's the 30 billion. On the other TV, man, keep running. He say, oh, we kill somebody. You all come to my rescue. I'm a single mother with my papa. Children, oh, they made me now. I can't even sit. I can't even sleep. They get my soul. They get my soul. Police came and run. They get tossed. They say you are murder. They get my soul. They trap it in the water. Y'all come to my rescue. Y'all come to my rescue. And then y'all come to my rescue. Y'all share it. And then he said 2 people, mama, children, no party, everything. My baby video in high school. My baby guy for DSTV. Oh, for the other, y'all come to me. I want to know who get that order. Saturday come and work on get right. I want to know who get that order. Oh, they make money order. They sell when they go there, tell they draw, they go make money order. I want to know you're happy. Somebody happy. Y'all come to my rescue. Them when I'm my son, they try in the water, they say he can't drown. Oh, Papa, you're happy. Oh, I die. Oh, you're happy. Oh, she go for the farm. Now, I never fall my effort for EP. Even you cash it, you can't even carry. He said that you go for EJ. Then you go, you kill my son, you throw it in the water, then you're lying, you say, you throw it in the water. I want to know who killed my son. I want to know, else I will go.
Reverend Thomas, you think she has a point there? She needs to know what happened to her son. She needs to know who killed her son.
Absolutely. She has a point. She needs to know. She must be told what happened. The story has to be explained to her how her son got killed. Right? So there's a need for a press conference right now from the DEA and other sources of law enforcement explaining their role in the anguish of this woman. It's pathetic. She's going through a traumatic event that most people in Liberia are still going through day in and day out. It seems we've become a very careless society, taking the lives of people with no remorse at all. This should not be allowed to continue.
So if my memory can serve me right, I think this is a second event. I think I heard one happening around in District 6, where I'm from as well. In the rehab community, where another kid, a teenager, was also a victim of DEA raid. And he got killed while they were carrying on the raid, and they didn't even catch the people they went to look for. But the government has a way of paying people out when these things happen, like they bury your loved one, and then they give you a little, like in King George, they gave people like 5,000, and that was it. In rehab, I think they buried the boy and they gave his mother some compensation. Is that enough? I don't think that is enough. Do you think that is enough?
That's not enough. I mean, you cannot pay for a human life, and the amount involved is very insignificant. And so the general public should not allow such a trend to continue. We have moral obligation to hold the feet of those that are with the authority to man those organizations under fire. Let's come to a place where we recognize that human lives are important, and to preserve human life is what the government is instituted, for the common good of the people. But if government agencies are the ones taking human lives and paying peanuts to silence the relatives of those people, we in the general public should say, no, this is not sufficient. This should not be the norm of operation in our country.
Yeah, I agree with you. This should not be the norm of operation in our country. I'm just trying to do justice to this woman. It is not enough that we would just mention and pass. Let me allow her to be heard a second time before we move on from this topic and talk about solution. What are the possible solutions in this case?
Well, again, as I said, that the DEA, the police, all the paramilitary organizations should come to the realization that human lives are important. There should be a zero tolerance of taking human lives. You cannot, no amount of money can bring back a life or pay for that, what that person could have become in society. Okay, so from the upper echelon of society to the lowest level, we must realize that. Also, there's a need to address this culture of impunity in Liberia. The fact that we've been victims for a long time, and those that are perpetrators are the ones that are in positions of authority, is frustrating that the citizenry appears to be powerless and are not just accepting things as they come. But there has to be a turning point. And this is why our voices are critical. This is not how post-war Liberia should be governed. There's a lot of blood that have been shed in the country already. We should not allow any more blood to be shed. We should come to this realization that Liberia should not be a careless society. Life is sacred and must be held so. So government exists for the common good of the people. Government exists to protect lives and property. And so law enforcement should not be careless enough to use brute force or to take lives. In fact, there are other ways you could subdue an alleged criminal or a suspected a person that you think has committed a crime. Do you have to take that person's life, or you could disable that person in another way? I think the police and law enforcement, as well as DEA officers, must be retrained. You could disable a person without taking their lives. So the need for retraining is paramount. And we recommend that that should be undertaken. We recommend that government should hold responsible and prosecute those that carelessly take the lives of other citizens.
I agree on that. In fact, if I can recall, the thing here is that when they just resigned LDA officer in charge, Christopher Peters, in his resignation to President Boyka, said that he acknowledged that they've done some efforts in curbing drugs in the country, but he said they were understaffed, underfunded, undertrained, had capacity issues, had logistical issues, and such like that. And then we can recall also that how that affected his tenure when a fraudulent search and seizure warrant was obtained from Newtown that led to that scrimmage at the CDC headquarters, where we saw like a war scene, like we were back in the days of the civil crisis, where the police and the CDC partisans had to stand up. And I still have photos from there and videos from that experience, and it was pretty sad for Liberia. But before I leave this lady, like she's pleading, let me play her voice one more time, and then we'll move on from here.
She tried to come. She called me. She said, I'm going to go there to her. I go there. She said, I will come out of the order. Say she will go race. That's the 30 minutes. On the other TV, man, keep running. He said, oh, we kill somebody. You have come to my rescue. I'm a single mother with my papa. Children, oh, they made me now. I can't even sit. I can't even sleep. They get my son. They get my son. Police came and ran. They get tossed. They say you were murder. They get my son. They trap it in the water. Y'all come to my rescue. Y'all come to my rescue. And then I was, yeah, y'all come to my rescue. Y'all share it. And then he said, two people, mama, children, no party, everything. My baby video in high school. My baby guy for DSTV. Oh, for the other, y'all come to me. I want to know who get that order. It's Saturday, come and welcome get one. I want to know who get that order. Oh, they make money order. They say when they go to tell they draw, they go make money order. I want to know you're happy. Somebody happy. Y'all come to my rescue. They went up my son. They try in the water. They say he can't drown. Oh, Papa, you're happy. Oh, I die. Oh, you're happy. Oh, she got my own effort. Nah, never fall. My effort for EP. Even you cash it, you can't even carry. He said that you go in jail. Then you go, you get my son, you throw it in the water. Then you're lying. You say you throw it in the water. I want to know who came my son. I want to know, as I will go table of justice. Monday morning, I will be table of justice. I want to know who came my son. According to order, you as a mother, single mother, you help me. I want to know who came my son. I want to know who released the order. I want to know who released the order. I want to know who released the order. Saturday, no comment, we're going to get away. Then she telling me, said, our body, they tell us, they will go ready to bring trust on table. So that they want to get to our children. That they want to get to our children. I need my son, I need my papa, who not get for. My baby lay down. My son lay down. My effort going to be. Look at it. Look at my baby. Nobody can tell you, say my children steal. My father children, nobody can want to say they steal for them. Nobody tell you, say my children took them when they take food. I want to know who killed my son. You come to me. You come to me.
I want to know who killed my son. You come to me. We call on the Justice Minister. We call on our IGP, Inspector General Gregory Comer, a good friend. I pray that they always see reason to listen to this woman and give her justice. And like Reverend Thomas said, when people commit these kind of acts, they shouldn't just go free, because then that encourages them to go ahead and do what they want to do. All right, Reverend Thomas, before I leave this story, sorry, I'm the firstborn for my mother, And not just that, my mother was a single mother as well, so this story is close to my heart. So I just want to say to you, do you think we should have the Liberian National Police, what I'm going to show you on the screen, with all of these things going on in Liberia, do you think we should have Liberian National Police flying vehicles for operation without any lesson plates, without any mark on it at all?
No, the police should be the first order of people that obey the law, because they are law enforcement officers. So they should be the ones to demonstrate to the citizenry that indeed there exist laws and laws must be obeyed. So they are in violation of the law if they're applying the streets with vehicles without license plates. Those vehicles should be clearly marked, right? Now, if you have a law enforcement organization that is violating the law, then we are existing in chaos. And this should not be allowed. I heard you calling on the justice minister and the police bosses, but if the organization that is supposed to be protecting people is the same organization from whose ranks and files crimes are being committed against the citizenry, then that organization leadership should not be the only source of accountability and justice. The citizens have a right to rise up and advocate for themselves. Example, I live in Staten Island, New York, where we had a Gardner incident where police beat on Gardner and they took his life. The citizens, the people in the community rose up and said, enough is enough. We will no longer tolerate police brutality. We will no longer tolerate police killing innocent people or suspected people. All right. So you have to change. So we have a place and right to demand that the justice ministry itself institute reforms, that the police institute reforms that bring about positive change. Hey, why carry guns?
Right.
Right. You could use another device that immobilize a person, a taser, for instance. Do you have to carry live bullets to take lives of people? So this brings us back to this recurring theme that we are living in a society that is violent prone. We have not addressed our violent nature. There is a disrespect of human life in Liberia. As long as those that instituted the culture of violence in the society still live and are rewarded for the violence they perpetrated against less forceful people or people that cannot defend themselves, the culture will continue to exist. These people must be held accountable. There should be no reward for violence. I mean, we have it from Lofa to Nema, Matsuraida, where we have cases where individuals that have been involved in killing others now are serving in position of trust. Are we going to stand by and allow this to continue? Tomorrow there may be another death. And you called on the justice minister, the institute investigation. The investigation is not followed up. The public is not informed about the result of the investigation, and life goes on where folks that have perpetrated crimes continue to live with impunity. The citizens have to come to the understanding that we cannot tolerate this. So we bring about an action that will check people in the track.
That's right. We need to have accountability in our security apparatus for us to have. And you know, this thing has a far-reaching consequence in the country, because if we cannot have an accountable security sector, and a security sector that the community can rely on, international partners and businesses who want to come in will not have confidence in our security setup. And the rule of law is one of the things that is paramount to businesses. No business thrive in chaos. I mean, no good business thrive in chaos. You know, unless you got people who intending to do illegal business and stuff. So if we want to see a business attracted to Liberia with all of the travel we're doing and appealing to people to come to the country, we have to know that we have security in the country. All right, that takes us to our, thank you, Reverend Thomas. That takes us to our next topic that has to do with the Ministry of Gender. So this little boy that even died is connected to the Ministry of Gender, because our Ministry now of Gender is called Ministry of Gender, Women and Children. All right, so at the Ministry of Gender, we have a resignation. I'm going to read that for our audience. In this resignation, it was sent to Honorable Frederick S. Cooper, who is the Deputy Minister for Administration. It comes from Attorney Emmett Kay, and Emmett Kay is the head of the Budget Committee. So I guess Emmett is supposed to be ensuring that whatever funding that the government of Liberia gives the Ministry of Gender is properly utilized. And this is a letter, his resignation. This is why it reads. Kay writes, Attorney Kay writes, I refer to he said, resignation as head of the ministry's Budget Committee, Ministry of Gender, Children, and Social Protection. I refer to my memorandum dated April 2nd, so this was long standing. April 2nd, April 16th, May 3rd, and May 6th, 2024, addressed to the Financial Controller, Mr. Moses Kemun, with the subject request for SGBV, Sexual Gender-Based Violence Roadmap 40K report, in which the controller was asked to provide detailed expenditure report on the 40,000 United States dollars spent from the last tranche disbursed to the ministry, so as to enable the Budget Committee request for the current tranche of the ministry, so as to enable the current tranche of 500,000 to make it available. Pending expenditure report from the last tranche. You and I discussed the contents of these communications before they were sent to Mr. Kemun, and you were duly copied. Based on the way you have unilaterally handled this matter without regard to advisors from me as head of the Budget Committee, but instead you have approved questionable, illegal financial transaction, I herewith tender in my resignation for the following reason: that you were adequately briefed about the intended, and then he said the same thing he said, and then several counts. But the key point there is that illegally using money that was allocated for gender ministry and child protection. What do we say to another resignation in the broadcast administration? Financial malfeasance.
Well, that appears to be a trend within the administration, where folks illegally use money intended for the general good of a ministry. The heads of the ministry should not be the person disbursing money. You have an accounting, a wing to each ministry. They should be in charge of disbursement, okay? Tracking all receipts, holding people accountable for using the money as they are allocated. But once you have the head handling the money, disbursing money, there is an inbuilt corruption that will take place. And this has to be reversed. Again, this takes us to the person in charge of governance in the country. How are you holding your ministers and your commissioners responsible? Do they make reports to you? Do you have the capacity to check on the processes that are going on in those ministries, in addition to tracking how they are trying to meet the goals? What about the expenditure? Is there a mechanism in place to track these expenditures? But if at all that aspect is weak, then of course ministers and commissioners will get away with the old order of doing things and not being held accountable. So the resignation have really opened our eyes again to another malfeasance in a government institution. And are we going to allow this to continue? Let the president really call people to report on the stewardship. Thank you.
But again, thank you, Reverend Thomas. You see, what baffles me is the fact that in leadership, people look to the head for direction. So it is one of two things going on here. It is either President Boyka is not responding effectively to current malpractices, and so it is emboldening the rest of the other team that are under him, or it just might be he's not in control. Because what is going on? Like if Attorney Kane is the chair for the budget committee, and so probably he might be the eye of government to ensure that that the monies given to the ministry is expended according to law, according to what the ministry has set, the protocol, the set protocol. If he's there as the eye to ensure check and balance, and now he has to resign, then it tells me something. It tells me it said that he who's being the check and balance to curb corruption, so we don't have business as usual. It said that he's not getting the support of the president, because I'm sure he should be able to pick up the phone and say, Mr. President or Mr. Grisby, this such and such is going on in the ministry, and I need your urgent attention to these things. He showed that he's given about five or so different communications to this effect. So why is nobody listening to him in the echelon of the Joseph Boyka administration? Why nobody listening?
Well, someone has dropped the ball, and someone continues to drop the ball. There is an information gap. Perhaps the information is not getting through to the person at the top, right? In the finance ministry, that to my mind has oversight also as to how ministries, the other ministry, are taking care of expenditures allocated. There seems to be, of course, no oversight as well. Then the question also becomes, what is the role of the oversight committee in the Congress? All right, they should be aware of how monies are expended, because to every department, there is an oversight committee in Congress or in the House of Senate and Representative. So they are dropping the balls big time. And if the president appears to be overwhelmed, then someone has to step up, of course. And if that's not happening, then we have a chaotic situation. We have a chaotic situation. Someone may not be fit for the position they are occupying. And that is why we are having all of these indiscipline. We are having all of these malfeasance within the various ministries. Government is a complex institution. It requires vibrant individuals to run it. People that are fixated on seeing the whole picture and demanding that reports be brought to them about stewardships in the various areas. You have to have a whole, a focus on the entirety of the system that you are dealing with. But if you lose sight of that, corrupt people will have a field day.
So the question that's running in my mind, because he did CC in his resignation, he did CC the minister, Honorable Wemi Harris Colley, and then he also sent this to the Honorable Frederick Cooper, who is the Deputy Minister of Administration, and he listed up to 7 counts, 12 counts of issues that he had, 12 counts. So my question, what's the solution? Because it's that how do we fix? So how do we fix if we're to a Vice President Boyka or Grace Bay or Horace Colley, Minister Horace Colley? How can they address this? Should he just be made to walk because he resigned, or can he keep his job because he's doing the right thing, or should his resignation just be accepted and then we'll go on like nothing happened? I don't understand.
Well, I think we desire to fix things. And if someone that is pointing out the flaws in the system, that person means well for the system. That person means well for the ministry. Instead of that person living in frustration, you want to hold on to the person and then really get them to assist you in strengthening the systems or the operation within that ministry. But letting them go, you'll be creating a void. Okay, so if there's no one that is straight enough to point out the flaws, if they leave, then those that are perpetrating the corruption will be emboldened to continue what they were doing because they see a weakening. They see that they have not been held accountable. No one is calling them to book, and so they have the leeway to do whatever they want to. We don't want that, so we retain those that seems to be sincere, seems to want to change. We retain them, work with them to strengthen the system.
So if
I would not accept this resignation, but I would address the issues raised.
All right. So welcome again to the Melting Pot, Liberia Sustainable Development Think Tank. This is where we discuss issues strengthening Liberia, and we provide recommendations and comments and views that will help improve our country. So at the Ministry of Gender, there is red flag about corruption in the system, and the chairman on the committee, on the budget committee at the Ministry of Gender, resigned on facts of allegations that he feels happening in the Ministry of Gender, and so he wants to resign. He's tendered his resignation already. Should we let him go or should we keep him? And I think Reverend Thomas is saying people like this should be kept in the broadcast administration so that they cannot be business as usual. And instead of letting him go out of frustration, call this guy back, tell him, say, listen, my young man, this is what we want to see happen in our government, and we think it is the right thing you've just done by raising the red flag. But just leaving out of frustration is not the way forward. It's not going to fix the problem. Reverend Thomas is saying it's only going to get the bad people get more space. So yeah, bring this man back and tell him, look, do your job if possible, but give him more responsibility. All right, because these are the kind of people, people with good conscience, people with integrity, people who can stand up and say, look, Mr. President, this is going on wrong in this area, and I want to raise it to your attention. And if people are blocking me from getting to you, then I will resign. And then the president will say, no, don't resign. Come back and do your job. All right, and then let the bad people go. If I investigate and find the bad people are culpable of the red flag you just raised, I'll let the bad people go and I'll let you stay. All right, so that it will not be business as usual. All right, we move on to our next topic, and the next topic has to do with Smart News report on Liberians in Lebanon. We all know that there's a war in Lebanon, and right now there are massive bombing going on in Lebanon. Israel in Lebanon is at war with Hezbollah. And not only that, but Liberians are in Lebanon as well. And in fact, the last time I heard, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Minister of Foreign Affairs have published that they were trying to get Liberians who wanted to leave Lebanon to return them to Liberia, to repatriate them to Liberia so that they can get out of harm's way. But then while this is all going on, there's a report from a newspaper called the Smart News Liberia that has reported that Liberians in Lebanon, in the Lebanese community in Lebanon, are opposing something that has to do with Hezbollah. Now, we don't want to be bothered with all of the details and the Rick Monroe in that conversation, but I think what we're raising here as a Liberia Sustainable Development think tank is that such a report has a propensity to put Liberians between the scissors, all right, between two belligerent forces, Israel and Hezbollah. And don't forget that war is a deadly war, all right? People are being killed back and forth. So if you put Liberians in a situation where they seem to be taking side in a war zone, the next thing people will do is that if Hezbollah are not pleased with what they're hearing in international reports that Liberians are opposed to them, obviously they might target Liberians. So, Mr. Reverend Thomas, there it is. Liberians in Lebanon oppose alleged appointment of Hezbollah-linked figure as honorary consul general. What do you have to say? Do you agree with me or you disagree?
Well, first, responsible governments, when there is a conflict area, a war setting, they retrieve their citizenry. So it's a good thing that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs are put into place ways and means to have Liberians that are endangered as a result of that war return to safe haven, be it their home or other locations. In our foreign policy, as a nation, we've always taken side with Israel. So with Israel being at war with Hezbollah in Lebanon, Liberians, if they are viewed as being in sympathy with one group like Hezbollah, that will of course expose them to danger or retaliatory measures by the Israeli army. Or if Hezbollah perceives that Liberians are doing other contrary-wise, they of course will be subject to reparatory offenses. So it's a situation that is delicate, and to my mind, the Liberians should be advised well by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to remain neutral. You said there is an allegation of Hezbollah's sympathetic person being appointed. Again, they have to be cautious. This is a deadly situation that might put at risk folks that are involved politically. So again, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs should take up the issue, advise Liberians appropriately, and in the terms of appointment, listen to the views of Liberians there, because they are on the ground. They know what's happening, right? So whatever advice they have to the Liberian government in terms of this appointment, their views should be taken into consideration, and based on investigation and findings, the Liberian government should take the appropriate decision to retrieve Liberians from there. And in terms of that appointment, take a decision that would be neutral, that would not put Liberians at risk.
Thank you, sir. And I just want to, in addition to all that you've said, I want to caution my friend Sarah Beslow to ensure that she liaises with the Ministry of Ministry of Information, Culture, and Tourism, and liaises with the Ministry of National Defense to ensure that media institutions are cautious when it comes to matter of security. Because, you know, to be frank, even in the United States where we live here, when it comes to national security issues, I mean, whether you press or you don't press, everybody got to pay attention, because national security is the first and foremost concern of any state to protect its citizens. So let us be careful how we report our different news, especially when it has to do with Liberians that are in the diaspora in conflict zone. Let us not report anything that would endanger them or put them between the scissors, like Reverend Thomas said, between two belligerent forces, and there could be reprisals against these Liberians. And some of them may not even know anything about this news article. They may not have had anything to do with what the article is saying, but then they just manage to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, and then they get targeted and then get killed. So I hope the Liberian government will take cue on this, and then we can address it appropriately. If possible, maybe do what I think I know that they got something called retraction in media, where you can retract stories, or you can come up with a counter, story publication to clarify. Before
Absolutely, and that's why the Ministry of Information comes in to clarify whatever story has been published and make Liberian position clear in a way that will protect the citizens that are still in Lebanon.
Right. Okay. All right. There is a developing story, Reverend Thomas. There's a developing story it's just developing Liberia. There's not much, unless for the press release by IG, the Inspector General of Police, Gregory Coleman. This story is still developing, so we're still following on the police Facebook page. Gregory Coleman submitted what we refer to as a press conference. And in his press conference, he's admitting that members of the Liberia National Police decided that they would carry on an operation that involved going to a hotel where a businessman, a foreign businessman, was residing, and they manhandled this guy. Not only that, they manhandled him, but they took his money and then took $24,000 from this guy, from these foreign investors, and took him to the police station, threatening him that they would do a mock shot if you don't behave and be quiet. But this guy couldn't keep his cool, and he demanded he wanted his money back. And then the police general has now launched an investigation. I think a couple of individuals have been suspended already, and others are being investigated further. What do you make of that story?
Well, from face value, the questions that keep popping up in my mind are: was there a probable cause? Did they suspect the individual of a crime? Did they have a search and seizure warrant to go into a hotel and apprehend this gentleman? If they had such causes, they have to verify, they have to display why they went into the gentleman's hotel room to search him. But in the absence of all of those things, that then becomes a violation of the rights of the individual who was an investor. And the forceful taking of money from this person, again, speaks to another level. All right? Why did you take the person's money? And I understand they return some amount of the money and the balance is not accounted for. That's disturbing. Especially so, it sends the message that investors are not safe in Liberia. That those that are entrusted with the power to enforce law and order may be the guys that are violating the constitutional rights of people, the rights of individuals that are not Liberians as well. And so it sends a wrong signal to the world. It sends a wrong signal to even Liberians as a group, that people are not saved, all right? And then it speaks to the idea of theft. What happened to the money? Why did you take the money from the investor? Was there a press conference held to speak about this? Did Mr. Coleman hold a press conference?
Yes, let me read his press statement.
All right.
All right. Press release, Monrovia, Liberia, October 15, 2024. The Liberian National Police LNP has with immediate effect dismissed one of its officers and interdicted 2 others for impropriety and gross misconduct. During a press briefing at the headquarters of the Liberian National Police, IGP Coleman narrated that on Saturday, October the 2nd, 2024, during the evening hours, patrolman Augustine Ben and Sensei C. Masakwe criminally entered the hotel room of Mr. Ngunya Dean and Mr. Levin, 2 Vietnamese nationals, at the luxury hotel in Tinkers Village, arrested them without probable cause, confiscated 24,000 United States dollars, and took them to the headquarters of the Liberian National Police. The businessmen were turned over to their supervisor, Assistant Commissioner of Police, ACP Sam Bala, code named Arrow2, who intimidated them and threatened to take mugshots. Police RG further revealed that dismissed patrolman Sensei Masakwe has been under indefinite suspension since 2018 for theft of property. Meanwhile, ACP Bale, Aratu, which is the second lieutenant in his office, and Patrolman Augustine Ben Sabo have been interdicted and forwarded to the Professional Standards Division, PSD, for investigation by the Police Act. The IG further assured the public that the LMP will not tolerate any form of criminality by any police officer under his watch.
Wow. So clearly indicated there are criminal elements within the National Police.
Yes, as high as Arrow 2, level 2.
All right, as high up as that level. But what's scary is that these guys had the audacity of taking through their criminal means of the victim of the crime to the police headquarters, where criminal activity should not be taking place. So the criminal activity starts from the hotel, is brought to the police headquarters. Could it be that the headquarters have been a site of criminal activities all along, and these guys have been getting away with that? Had this guy kept quiet, hey, more deadly things could have been done. And then you indicated in the reading that there was a particular person that had been suspended since 2018. Now, why is this person still being affiliated with the police? Why was there an indefinite suspension and not dismissal? This is troubling, all right? The criminal elements need to be weeded out and incarcerated, especially the person that had this indefinite suspension. Why keep him in the police force? It's troubling. There's a need to weed out. You see, we see a trend here. And DEA, killing of innocent people or suspected people. Within the police, we see criminal activities happening. It seems a vicious cycle. It seems something that's just running rampant within law enforcement in Liberia. The need to streamline, to weed out, and to strengthen these military organizations and law enforcement agencies cannot be overemphasized. I'm glad that inundation has happened. How effective that will be. It doesn't mean you take the person's rent from him and you reassign him to another location, all right? Or you just going to be babysitting him and paying him at the same time. So what does that mean? Inundation. Suspension, I understand. Are they suspended without pay? Or you suspend them and you keep paying them, rewarding them for their criminal activities? We need clarity on those issues.
Yeah, I think so too. Because when I look at this press release from Gregory Coleman, I'm like, there's not much that has been said. The crux of the matter is not even dealt with. It's like, because what I see is organized crime. It's organized for someone to be suspended from the National Police for theft of property, for stealing, and operating under the R2, the second in command, the deputy IG, operating under him, and brave enough to bring the suspect or the person they are trying to rob, bring that person to the like you see, to the National Police headquarters, to the R2. So which means there is some conniving. There is some understanding there that's something that I don't know what to say. It's shocking.
You bring them in the headquarters, you intimidate them, you silence them, you sweep everything under the rug. Perhaps this has been going on a long time, and it is just coming to the surface because the victim spoke up and the victim demanded justice. So the need to really dig deeper in the operations, in the dynamics of these organizations cannot be overemphasized. And this reminds me of a story. I don't know whether you read is a classic work about these criminals that perpetrated acts in the United States, The Godfather. And these guys had their tentacles all over the country, in the justice system, in the trade system, in the trade rooms of Wall Street, in the police. They had the people within the police organization that did bad things for them. All right. So I know that our police force is an organization for good, for the common good of the citizens, but we have to be strong enough. We have to open our eyes. We have to see what they're doing. They have to be held accountable as well.
Yes, sir. They have to be held accountable. Welcome to the Melting Pot, Liberia Sustainable Development Think Tank, where we discuss issues trending in Liberia, and then we provide comments, views, analysis, and opinions and recommendations to improve things. Whether government officials listen to or not, well, that's left to them, but we are trying our best to make sure we remain involved in what's going on in our country. Joseph Addison, my man, Joseph, you are right in my own hometown where I got born, in Harper right now. You say in the FE community in Maryland County, the Harper City area there. Welcome to the show, Harper, Maryland County. Want to say thank you all for representing. We appreciate it. My own son, Clarence Pearson Jr., say he's online. He says he's watching. I'm here watching. I know my picking will be watching because he's, his dad is on TV, so he has to watch. So yeah, Mr. Johnson, you are wondering whether our people are concerned. Yeah, they're online and they're saying that they are following, and that's
all right. They should share the show. We're not like other shows that use profanity to appeal to the common folks, but we're discussing substantive issues that affect the citizenry of the country. If they could add their comments, they could. It will take all of us to bring about a systemic change that will make life better for all of us, Liberians at home and Liberians in the diaspora.
So technically, if we're to speak to Gregory Coleman, he's a friend, and I know he's one of the guys that pay attention, he listens. What could we tell Gregory Coleman? Like you I was even thinking about some of the things you were saying. It's like how were they so brave to take, like the Gregory Coleman describe it, illegal, criminal, but why were they brave to take criminal activity to the Liberian National Police headquarters and use it to intimidate the victims to keep them quiet? Why would they do that? I mean, so what
well, they were emboldened by perhaps their past crimes. Once they were not caught, they used that as a cover, to have done things, unspeakable things. All right, Gregory is the person in charge. I've listened to commentaries about him that he's a professional. He's a straightforward person. Let him become resolute to weed out the bad apples from his ranks and files. He has to be strong enough. If he must live to his reputation, he must do things that bear fruit of that tangible things that the Liberian people can see and say, truly, Gregory is determined to make a difference in the force. But what I said, the PS now, he has a lot of rotten apples. From the streets of Monrovia to the headquarters, you see police in the streets pulling people on the side, getting money from them, and just closing the eyes and let go of people that perhaps are in a vehicle that is not roadworthy, or they use it as a means of getting money for themselves, paying themselves. Okay, so the perception of the Liberian police force is a poor one, that they are corrupt. And that corruption is not only limited to the foot patrol people, but now we have seen people from the highest rank of the force are committing crimes. I'm glad it has come to light. The question is, Gregory, what are you going to do about it? Are we going to see more persecution? Are we going to see measures that weed out bad apples? Do something, Gregory, because the government came to power to make a difference.
Someone
We want to
said,
see that.
Boss Soto from New York City says, my brother Gregory will not do nothing to this guy. He was the same man that brought us got back those God will fire by the past government. Oh, they got fired by the past government, but then Gregory brought him back for the same heart, and Gregory brought him back into the police. I think he's trying to say that Gregory brought this guy back into the police force. He was not in the force during President Weah's time, and Gregory brought him back into the police force. And I think there's the same guy that they accused of carrying out the use of live bullet in 2011 at the CDC headquarters.
Well, you know, the difference here again, right now, we are on social media. In the past, you did not have this phenomenon of citizens verbalizing their opinion on issues on social media. And so folks could get away with things in the past and they were unaccountable. But now you have this new phenomenon where people from all over the world are adding their voices and demanding justice, demanding that certain acts should not be allowed to continue. So we will continue to speak about this thing. We'll continue to call on Mr. Coleman and others in position of power to change behavior, to do positive things that will make Liberia a better place. We no longer are going to be silent. So this new phenomena of social media contributing to the body politics discussion is effective. That will make a difference.
Right. So as long as we remain engaged and put light on these things and enlighten the public, it puts them on the spot to take action and to do the right thing. So listen, from Liberia Sustainable Development think tank, Gregory, it is important, like Reverend Thomas says, that you go to the bottom of this, and if possible, if there are people who are carrying out organized crime using the Liberia National Police headquarters as a means of legitimizing their actions, because I'm sure if they carry you to the Liberian Police headquarters and they intimidate you there, it legitimizes the action. It makes them to appear like they're doing something that is right. Right. And so they buy legitimacy by just being at the Liberia National Police headquarters, and that may be a false impression from them, to scare those who they are intimidating and exploiting, and we cannot have that. We cannot have that. We need to ensure that Liberia is a peaceful place, so that business people are not discouraged from coming to the country. Because if the president is going out there and trying to encourage people to come and invest in the country, and we're having these things going on, I mean, it's a complete pushback. It's like trying to move forward and then pull yourself back at the same time. Life does not work like that. All right. So I'm not sure, like interdict them or whatever. Like, what kind of word they're trying to use? It's like Liberian people say, when you want to tell the bookman that he's still say he embezzle, you make it a little sweet, he embezzle.
Yeah.
But I don't think we should look our security. But let me raise this point before we move on to our last topic for the night. We still have a little time. The George Manning Weah, former President Weah, this is the same police. Significantly, these are the same people. All right. So except for the new guys who were brought in after President Braga took over, this is the same Liberian National Police that were trained by our international partners. So my concern, and I think I will raise this for the issue for the public to think about it. Is it possible the way we politicize the security sector is what giving us these kind of negative results after we change government? Because we politicize the security sector in that President Braga comes to power, he brings his own EPS people and get rid of the professional trained EPS that were already there and already trained, and brings in his own men. Later on, even the very guy who was protecting him from the inauguration day that kept him from falling, now we see that guy no more. I think they said he dismissed the guy for corruption as well. He gave the guy some money to give to the community, something like that, and the guy ate it. So he got rid of the guy. So now, and we saw President Braga being very vulnerable when someone had to put their hand almost around him to throw him to the floor. And in the early times of his presidency. So why did they get rid of almost 300 EPS soldiers, EPS personnel, and then the police, they got rid of some people and brought in new people, they're seen with the DEA. So why are we politicizing the security sector? Should the security sector be left to operate independently of politics?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Military and paramilitary organizations should never, ever be politicized. They should be professional organizations instituted to serve the populace, the general public, irrespective of who holds that political position of the presidency. That body should be there to serve the administration, one administration after the other. So it is a mistake to politicize the police, to politicize the DEA, to politicize the army. They should exist for the common good, transcending administration. Yeah, one political leader may come and go, but it should remain the professional group that upholds the state and secure the state. In addition to that, perhaps you could change the leadership that is subject to political appointment, but that cannot affect the rest of the people. Okay, because they are professional. You want to institute policies that may be a little different, and so you want to put in an executive person of your calling, but that person should not affect the operations of the organization. Okay, so I think it's a gross mistake. I hear people calling Black Eye police or we as police. Hey, that's wrong. WEA does not have police. Black Eye does not have police. WEA does not have army. There's the Liberian Armed Forces. All right, irrespective of who holds the presidency for a few years. So that has to be corrected. And people take it to their heads and act on that. It has to be corrected.
All right. Yeah, I agree 100%. In fact, I was one of those who frowned on the president retiring some of our AFL personnel who were trained by international partners over the years and trying to build for us a military on AFL. And with all of the investment they put into those guys, to strengthen the AFL, I mean, they were retired early and given political appointment. And I'm like, so you're trying to tell me that there are no competent people in Liberia to serve in defense ministry as defense minister. There are no competent people to serve in other areas in government, that you have to retire, early retirement, retire people from the AFL that barely have sufficient manpower, and then take them to go serve in a appointed position where they could just lose their job at the whims and caprices of a political individual. And they didn't even leave from my analysis. My analysis did not even dry from my mouth. And then Prince Y. Johnson, Prince C. Johnson, former chief of staff of the AFL, resigned from the Ministry of Defense.
And then rewarded with another position, right?
Yeah, and awarded with the NSA position. But the interesting thing is that even though he was awarded with the NSA position, but it goes back to what we're saying. He resigned from the Ministry of Defense because the army wives were advocating or agitating that he mismanaged the benefits of the army wives and army officers in the military. Now he got reappointed while the situation was still being investigated to the NSA, and NSA is responsible for investigating the kind of situations. NSA.
But what we've allowed in our body politics is to allow politicians for their own purposes to manipulate the system, to corrupt the system. That's corruption from the highest level. But we can no longer be silenced to these things, right? It appears to me that we have been docile for a good while. Allowing such things to happen speak to our weakness as a people. right? So that these few politicians accrue to themselves unjust salaries, accrue to themselves powers that should not, they are not supposed to exercise, and the buck of the citizens just sit back. Because it has happened in the past, we think it's normal when it is not. And therefore, it becomes significant that we speak against these for corrective measures. In post-war Liberia, our voices should be louder. We want to build a country that becomes a wholesome, functioning society where the vices of the past should not be allowed to continue. So you don't politicize the police. You don't politicize the armed forces. Okay? Even the DEA. Those should be professional organizations that cut across administrations.
I agree with you, because that's why there was a fight. You're a little bit to the side. Can you come in the center? That's why there was a fight at the LDA that even led to the suspension of the director, the deputy for operation, the deputy for administration. All three of them got dismissed, because they were politically put in there, and they felt all of them have political link to the president. So they did why they fight among themselves, and up to now, President Barker has not replaced those three officers, and probably one of the reasons why the DEA is performing the way it's performing right now. But we'll leave it there and ask and just say to President Barker, we think you are lacking behind when it comes to having control of our country. You need to step up the game and show leadership, because Liberia is all we have, and the future of our country depends on good leadership at the top. So if you're just joining us, you are listening to the Melting Pot, the Liberia Sustainable Development Think Tank. We've come to discuss issues that are trending in our country, Liberia. Liberia is all we have. And then we provide views, opinions, analysis, and recommendations. If the leaders in the country can take it, well, that's fine. If they don't want to take it, well, that's fine. But at least our voices are heard. And we look forward to a better Liberia. So this is our last topic for tonight. Reverend Thomas, President Boyka hands is full with candidates for Commerce Ministry. we got like 5 people now who either they are suggested themselves or they have been recommended. But everybody want a piece of that cake. Why do you think everybody running to Ministry of Commerce? Well, this is the first time I've seen people put themselves forward and say, like, I want to be Commerce Minister. What's going on?
It's comical, and also it's a audacity to put yourself forward when you are not being called.
Right.
I don't think anyone that puts himself forward should be awarded that position. All right, because it's a critical ministry that requires people with the requisite skills needed to man the ministry and carry on the vision and purpose of the ministry. And so to appoint a person to that ministry, the president should use wider scope to investigate, to see who understands. Do you understand the mission of the ministry? Do you understand the vision that the administration has to foster a commerce ministry that will bring development and to change the country as it exists? You may have education experience, but within this experience, what will you do to impact what needs to be done to foster a vibrant Ministry of Commerce? So you said there are 5 persons that have put themselves forward.
1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 5, including the party chairman. The party chairman from Unity Party, the one who said that, who had a press conference and said that Minister Moda must, vindicate himself, or else action will be taken. He all have to put pressure on his former party chairman. Let me see if I can find the names of those who put themselves forward. And let me read some of this. So the names we got forward right now include, just in case our listeners and our viewers would like to know some of the names, we got Mole Kamara. Mole Kamara is the current senior economic advisor to the president. All right. And then we also have Luther Tappe. Reverend Tappe is the current party chairman of the Unity Party. And at the same time, he's the board chairman to the National Port Authority. You remember President Brecker just said that if you hold in too many positions in his administration, you should give up one. Like if you are in the party and you hold a position, you gotta give it up, or you stay with your appointed position. And he is yet to decide whether you give up one for the other. but yeah, those are the two names of individuals that are vying.
Yeah, when I briefly reviewed issues about the Ministry of Commerce, it was indicated that the Liberian Ministry of Commerce faces significant challenges. And these challenges include widespread corruption, poor infrastructure, weak legal framework, limited access to finance, unskilled workforce, inconsistent tax administration, high tariff, lack of transparency, and contract awarded, which hinders the growth of domestic and international trade within Liberia. So the question becomes, with these key challenges, the person that would occupy the Ministry of Commerce, what will they do to address these issues? So if someone were to present those that have put themselves forward, you come before Dr. Peterson, you wanted to be Minister of Commerce. Dr. Peterson will be asking you, what are you going to do about corruption? All right? There's rampant corruption within the government that deter foreign investment. We just discussed something that happened to potential foreign investor where the security apparatus at the highest echelon went to rob this person. Okay? So what are you going to do to address the issue of corruption, to create an even playing field for businesses, local as well as international? What are you going to do to address the issue of poor infrastructure? There are inadequate roads, electricity, and communication networks that limit trade and economic activities across the country. What are you going to do to address this issue? What are you going to do to address the weak legal system, the lack of robust legal protection for businesses and contract makers? What are you going to do? Just tell us, how would you address these issues? Also, unskilled labor force. What is your vision about that? What are you going to do as a minister? There is a lack of skilled labor that can hinder the development of a more complex industries that we want in Liberia. Give us your vision. Regulatory environment. What are you going to do to strengthen the laws to protect people? High tariff. What are you going to do about the high tariff system? Okay? And then with the global market fluctuation that makes, when things happen in the West, impact Liberia. What are you going to do also to promote Liberianization? So a potential Minister of Commerce has to have specifics to address these issues. There are other concerns, all right? Legal reforms. What are you going to do about that, Mr. Minister? What have you done in the past to address such issues? What impact did you make in your previous jobs? Okay, let's for instance, the former chairman of the Unity Party that wants to become a commerce minister. Let's look at what he has done to impact positively the people of Liberia in the job he held before, for which he is asking for a promotion to become a Minister of Commerce. So we have to look at the tangibles. Okay, if you were to ask me, for instance, Mr. Johnson, you work with the Bureau of Tuberculosis. What did you do in the job that impacted the reduction of that disease? I'll be able to tell you explicitly what I did. All right. So based on the record, based on the statistics I give you, tangible examples, you will have an insight as to whether when you place me in this position, I will be able to do things to change lives, to change the situation. What are you going to do about Liberianization policy? The economy, trade is dominated by expatriates. What are you going to do to change that? How will you empower Liberians? Okay, so to the potential candidates that are out there, those are the things we have to be looking at their resumes, so that we can make informed decisions about them. I have not read all of their backgrounds, but Dr. Pearson, perhaps you did. What impressed you about any of them that would make them the ideal candidate to serve as Minister of Commerce?
I was just about to say that. You know, I want to do justice to them. I did mention Molly Kamara. All right, Molly Kamara is the current senior economic advisor to the president. He still wants a job. Before Bogart administration, Kamara was relatively unknown. Upon his appointment, Kamara informed Front-Page Africa that he holds a degree in economics from Rutgers University, right near us here. Rutgers University, New Brunswick, and an MBA in finance and entrepreneurship from the Wharton School of Business. Well, I'm going to skip that because we don't have a lot of time. We in fact, we're not here to promote them. Luther Tappen, of course, is a clergyman. Reverend Luther Tappen has experienced a steady rise in politics following a successful bid for the Unity Party's chairmanship in 2022. A veteran educator, so he's an educator. Reverend Tappen was considered a potential candidate, cabinet minister during the formation of the Unity Party-led government. After the election, however, despite his prominence, President Bogart only appointed him to serve on a couple of boards. And I want to skip to the next candidate who threw a hat in. They won't pass. She wrote only letter to the president, selling herself and asking the president to consider her. Lilia Pukuyu. Lilia Pukuyu made headlines last week when in an open letter to President Boyka, she expressed her interest in succeeding Amin Modad as Minister of Commerce and Industry. In a Facebook post, Madam Pukuyu shared that her ambition is driven by an unwavering passion to serve her country. She added that it would be an honor to represent women who are paving the way for what's possible in Liberia. Well, I guess you're moving on the feminist agenda. Well, I see no education credential. Listed, she got a degree in public sector administration and bachelor's degree in business administration, along with certificates in project management and trade investment as an entrepreneur, but it doesn't say from where. All right, and then she has other portfolio. I guess she has to say more about herself. Madam Pukuyu, if you're listening, please go back on your Facebook page and put all your credentials there. So those who are trying to advocate can mention. Then we got Yan Mentin. Yan Mentin is a veteran public servant and a stalwart of the Unity Party who has held several positions in government, spinning from the Charles Taylor regime and the Salim Bokar administration. He previously served as deputy minister at the Ministry of Commerce and managing director of the now defunct Liberian Produce Marketing Corporation, LPMC, during the Salif administration. So those are the candidates, and those are some of the brief profile, but all of what I've heard is simple.
Right. Yeah, you could cite an academic degree as something that qualifies you. The key question becomes, what did you do on your job to solve a problem? Again, I go back to the example I gave. I will be able to tell you that I was a part of a team that significantly reduced tuberculosis that was 100% affecting Americans to 20%. So I participated in the reduction of that as a result of effective surveillance, testing, going after community engagement, surveillance within the hospital. And these activities reduced this particular disease that was affecting 100% of the population. Till now, we have infection rate that has dropped to 40%, for example. All right. So I'm giving you specific data. I was able, as a result of the position I occupied, to reduce trade barrier, whereby Lebanese were dominating commerce in Liberia. 100%. Now, like, we have Liberianization, where Liberians are occupying 50%. All right, are trading. Okay, have stores because of the loans we give them. Now they are competing 50% of the time because of the policy I put into place. I was able to clean up this market area from being a dilapidated site. So now you have a healthy place. All right, no congestion because of water. So these are tangibles we look at, so that when we place you in a position, we know you can do something that impact, that changes the situation. But citing a degree alone is not sufficient. You have to cite achievements that folks can look at, measure, and say, truly, you did something positive. And therefore, when we award you with this position, you are able to go out there and change things. Am I making sense? We have a student feeling great. I was a professor, like Tape, he's an educator, right? All right, you could say, look, in my school, 2015, the failing rate of my students was 90%, but because of the measure I put into place now, when they take the West African examination, all right, the passing rate has increased. Okay, so 90% of the students now pass as a result of the measures I put into place, whereby the failing average was higher. We have reduced it significantly as a result of A, B, and C. So you have to show me exactly what you are capable of doing to changing the existing situation. Those are the things employers look at and hire people.
Right. You couldn't have said that better. You have to be employed based on your output, your deliverables, and how you've changed situation from worse to better. And then it goes back to what former Auditor General John Malou said, that they initially they advised the president to have a vetting committee that would vet people before the president appoints them, but he said it died on arrival, and they threw it out the window because the appointment became political to satisfy those who supported President Bouakai to take office. But now that we've crossed that bridge, and now President Bouakai is 10 months into his presidency, should he continue to reward people because they are from his party, or because they support him to become president? Or is it a window now of opportunity for him to put the best people in place if he has the opportunity? 1 minute, and then we close for tonight.
I think the president has the opportunity now to revisit his strategy and to reconsider Malou's advice to him to establish a vetting committee. The errors of the past should be put behind him. He has heard a lot of advices from people from various walks of life. This is an opportunity for these new positions that need to be refilled for him to do the right thing. No longer a political quest, or no longer political appointment, but something that will really bring about a change.
The revenue is on fire tonight. I'm not like on Monday as well. I'm going to stop you there, Reverend Thomas. It was nice having you on tonight. This is the melting pot, and to all of our viewers out there, I want to say thank you for being with us tonight. It was a pleasure having you. This is where we have Liberia Sustainable Development Think Tank. We discuss trending issues. We discuss the matters. We provide ideas, analysis, and opinion and recommendations, and it's left for our leaders to take you. Reverend Thomas says still remain there. As per tradition, we are going to tell Liberians, please lock your doors, lock your windows, double check those doors, double check those windows. We don't want any crime happening in your house tonight, and we're going to play the music that says Crime Stopper. And if you are in Liberia tonight and you have any criminal activities happening in your community, please call 911. Call the numbers that you're already aware of in Liberia for Crime Stopper and the Freedom Radio. Crime Stopper music. We have no copyright to this song, and nobody's paying us for any advertisement. We're just doing service to our Liberian people before we take leave of you tonight.
Yeah, I crush many places. In every community, you know, you can see. So if you see crime, hold it. Don't tell her in your hand for the right authority. But they can't take your lucky. Don't stop out here for us. Bring yourself to your door. Whether you wish or you go. If you see a you not talking, I mean you judge it. Whoever said that. If you see it, don't keep it. I'm about to be boy. Crime Stopper, big people bringing safety to your door. Crime Stopper, stopping crime and making peace for them before. Crime Stopper, Liberia, from the center to interior. Crime Stopper, keep me outside the stormy for all our. Crime Stopper, big people bringing safety to your door. Crime Stopper, stopping crime and making peace for them before. Crime Stopper, Liberia, from the center to interior. Keep me outside the stormy for all our.
Can't stop her like yeah, see it for you. Remember?